Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing another video involving my Midwest Industries 16-inch rifle, but today we're going to be focusing on this light that I have mounted up here in the front. This is one of the Arisaka brand 600 series lights. I've been using this thing obviously for quite a long time. I've taken it through a class or two, and I've done a little bit of testing with it at night, and hopefully again tonight, as we're going to hopefully see later in the video if everything goes to plan. I really like this light. It has a lot of features that I find very beneficial to my particular tastes. However, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the different features and stuff that you can hopefully make up your mind for yourself, and also compare it hopefully to another very popular, similarly styled light on the market. So like I said, this is one of these 600 series, and they actually have two different styles of the 600 series. They have the E2HT, and then I think it's the E2XT. I'll annotate that on the screen if I got that wrong or backwards. But this one is one of the Surefire Scout compatible lights, so it has a very similar body style to one of those, with a very important difference, I think. And because of that, I have it on one of the Arisaka inline M-LOK mounts. I've already done a review of the Arisaka inline light mount. It's one of my favorite mounting systems on the market. It keeps the light very in tight and close to the gun, as you can very clearly see here. It barely sticks out past even the side of the rail, especially for how big of a light this thing is. This version, I believe, I'll put the specs on this side of the screen. I believe it is 500 lumens, which may not sound like a lot, but it's, I think, 35,000 candela. If I get that wrong, again, I'll have the correct information on the screen. And then the XT version has the same lumens, but 55,000 of, I think it's, again, candela. I get some of the wording and verbiage backwards. If you don't know the difference between lumens and candela, worry not. There are some great resources out there online to help you figure out the differences, as I had to learn. Mr. Guns and Gear specifically has a really good video breaking it down and showing you practically what the differences are. But hopefully I'm going to be doing a small taste of that here myself later with one of these Surefire 600s. But while it's only 500 lumens, I think, as we'll see later, you get a lot of throw and a lot of concentration on this light, especially for the cost. And again, I think that's one of the very appealing things about these lights, which we'll touch on more later. So because this thing does use a Surefire Scout style body, it is compatible with Surefire tail caps. So at the opening of the video, I had the temporary tail cap, momentary only, I should say, tail cap that I ordered it with. However, I went ahead and just threw on one of the tape switches for my Surefire Scout 600, just to show that you can still activate, and you can see it keying off the muzzle device there. So whatever your personal preferences are as far as light activation, sky's the limit, again, because this thing is compatible with everything else out there on the market. Now, going back to the momentary only tail cap we have back here, like I said, when you press the button, there is no toggle on. I'm going to let it kick off my shirt there so you can see. It doesn't click in. It's momentary only. If you did, though, want to do constant on, you can just tighten the tail cap down, and as you can see, even without touching it, it is kicking that light off. So you can also just unscrew it in case you wanted to reduce the likelihood of a negligent discharge. Let's see, go further back still. And now the light cannot be activated using the tail cap. So you do have that kind of built in, so you're not having to worry about taking it off in case you're doing night operations or anything like that. It'll still work in its configuration with this tail cap option, which is the most cost-effective option, which is one of the reasons I went with this one, because again, cost, I think, is one of the big bonuses of this light. Now, this light does come with one 16-650 battery, as opposed to the 18-650s of some of the other light bodies out there, or you can also run it on two CR123s. Now, the thing to know there is the CR123s will actually reduce the output, so the 16-650 is the way to get definitely your most bang for your buck. And also that battery that comes with it is rechargeable and will work if you have an 18-650 battery charger out there. It will work in there, at least it works in my Surefire one. Now, one of the reasons it will not take the 18-650 is because the body style on this thing is so skinny, and again, that's one of the things that I really like about it. This light, of all the ones that I've used, is the most low profile rifle-mounted Surefire Scout style lights that I've ever used. And I'm a big fan of keeping everything sticking off the rifle in as tight and close as I possibly can. And this allows you to do that. I mean, you can see, hopefully, it's like just barely off of my front sight up there. But it just works. It's so nice and tight. I really do appreciate that fact about it. You guys know I've done reviews of the Streamlight weapon mounted lights, and I like those a lot as well. They come in at a very reasonable price, but they are way bigger. In fact, if you've seen my MP5 or Zenith Z5P video, you know that I actually had to file off the heat sinks on one of them in one area to get it to actually sit next to the front sight of my Zenith Z5P. This is not going to be a concern on this style of body. Now, I've been alluding to the price kind of throughout the video, so I might as well go into that now. This light, as you see here, not including the mount or anything like that, runs $100 and I believe it's $180, and they come in both black and tan. I opted for the tan because I knew that the paint scheme on this thing would fit it nicely. But they do also have black ones out there. And if you don't want the longer light bodies, let's say you have like a SBR or something, you want things a little bit shorter, they do have a 300 series style of body as well. So they really do have a body style to match whatever your specific needs are. Now, hopefully at this point, what I'm going to go ahead and do is show you how this thing does in a practical environment. It's getting a little bit dark here, and once it gets a lot darker here, I'm going to go ahead and shine this thing on the range here. I'm at a 200-yard range right now, so we're going to see how far we can actually illuminate things using this light, and again, comparing it to a Surefire light as well. And then once we do that, we'll kind of wrap up our thoughts on this flashlight. Okay, so first we're going to establish a baseline. Right now it's about an hour after the portion you just saw. However, still a little bit of light still in the sky, but for what we need to do for this video, at least this section is going to be dark enough. You're looking down the line of the firing line on the range that I'm currently at, and the back wall is, I would say, about 40 yards away from me. And right now I have my Streamlight Micro Stream, which is a 250 lumen light, and you can see you can just barely illuminate that back wall there, again at about 40 yards. And that light, while it spreads out pretty far, dies pretty quickly going back. Again, don't expect this thing to perform exceptionally well, but just wanted to set a baseline with a more traditional handheld light. So now we're going to go ahead and switch over to the Arisaka 600 series light. You can tell immediately we're dealing with a much brighter light. You can very clearly make out everything going on down there at about 40 yards. Don't have the same spill, so if I look over here at the posts, you lose a lot of that room over there to the right. If I look at the room to the right, we lose a lot of the posts. But you can see much more powerful beam, much more centered beam. So with this, now let's go ahead and switch to the Surefire 600 DF. So now we're going to kick on the 600 DF here. Now immediately you'll notice there's a lot more spill. Now again, this thing has 3 times the lumens. I'm not sure what the Candela rating is. It didn't say on the website when I was looking before coming out here. But when I shine over here at the posts, you can still very clearly see that room over there to the right. If I look at the room to the right, you can still very clearly see the posts. You can see floor to ceiling and still pretty well see the end down there. Now it could just be my eyes deceiving me because of the way my eyes are adjusting to the total brightness, but it seems like it might not be as bright at 40 yards, but again, could just be my eyes not adjusting. I'll put them side by side so you can tell for yourself. So now with the being about 40 yards there, let's go ahead and look at something a little bit further away. So it's kind of pointless trying it, but I have my little Streamlight light on, my 250 lumen. It's not showing anything appreciable, at least here on screen. So let me just go straight to the Arisaka light. So as I shine here, I'm going to try to identify some things and distances for you. Where I'm shining right now is about 25 yards away. We have a little bridge over here at about 55, 60 yards away. And then that first row of targets out there is right at 100 yards away, being that that is a 100-yard line. Now, I don't know how well it's going to come across to you guys. I know just from experience trying to do this before, that it's not fully going to come across on camera because the beam is so focused. It's hard to get an appreciation for it, but I can very clearly make out that bridge there, at least by eye, at again 55-60 yards. Anything up close I can very clearly see, and even as I shine out to the 100-yard line, I'm starting to lose it right at 100 yards. If I was shining into some trees and something didn't want to be seen, I probably couldn't see it. But that being said, I can definitely tell that the light is illuminating out to that distance. Anything beyond that, I'm just kind of grasping at straws. I can barely tell there's illumination at the trees in the background, but you're not going to be able to tell there on camera. Again, coming back to that bridge at 55-60 yards, and then again right at around 25 yards there at the bottom of the screen. So let's compare that to the 600 DF. We're now shining at that same patch around 25 yards out. I can pretty clearly make out the bridge there at about 55-60 yards. You can tell that I'm covering a much larger swath there on the grass before that little creek there. The bridge, I can tell, is illuminated by my naked eye, but at 100 yards, I'm really not getting any appreciable increase in what's going on down there. However, I am illuminating, as I'm aiming at the 100-yard line, a much bigger swath in front of me. So you can tell that there's some illumination going on there, but I don't personally think that it's making any difference really at 100 yards from what I can tell, and then anything beyond that I'm losing. So again, even though we have 3 times the lumens at 100 yards, I think I have a little bit less throw as far as I can tell. So hopefully the footage that I have planned for later turned out well, so you can actually see exactly what I'm talking about here. But I think that this light brings a lot of stuff to the table. I think it does have a couple drawbacks, but those drawbacks I think are because of the attributes that make it what I like. So like I said it earlier, if that didn't make any sense, but hopefully as I talk here, that'll make more sense. As I said earlier, I love how tight and in close this thing you can get, how close you can get this thing to the rifle. Now, because of that, you do sacrifice the ability to use 18650 batteries, which is kind of the standard on those larger body, like 600 series lights out there, including the Surefire that I was testing it against. 18650s are everywhere. You can get them for pretty cheap. You can get rechargeable ones for pretty cheap from like Streamlight, Surefire, a bunch of other companies out there make them. The 16650, on the other hand, that is not the case. Now, again, it does come with one, but if you want more, there's really only one company that I found, and it happens to be the one that that makes the battery that this one comes with. I think you can get like a 2-pack from Arisaka's website for $30, which isn't terrible for a rechargeable light, but it sucks only having one source. Now, you do have the ability to run it with CR123s, so you're not stuck with that one rechargeable battery. But that being said, I wish the availability of these batteries was a little bit more ubiquitous like the 18650s. But again, they can't use that because of how nice and tight and streamlined they made this light. The other drawback for some of you might be the patterning of this light. Depending on what you're looking for, this is going to be either a pro or a con. If you want a nice tight beam that throws really far, which seems to be kind of the trend now, that's the hot thing, is everyone cares about candela and less about lumens. This is an excellent light for you. You can reach way, way further with this 500 lumen light than 1000 lumen lights, and we'll find out how it compares to this 1500 lumen Surefire 600 DF here. Well, I'll find out. You guys already know. But you get a very different light pattern with this compared to some of those higher lumen lights available on the market. So again, depending on whether you want that really far reach for outdoor use, or whether you want a little bit more spill for that nice kind of in-close, better situational awareness stuff, that's kind of up to you, again, whether that's a pro or a con in your mind. And again, the biggest pro, I think, of all is the price that this thing comes in at. So we're comparing it to a light that is almost double the cost of this one. So these things come into market new with just a tail cap, not a tape switch or anything like that, at just under $300. Like I said, these things come in well under $200, and especially if you find them on sale, which you can usually do somewhat frequently, you can pick this up for far, far cheaper and still get a very usable light out of it. And again, because it's compatible with all those Surefire accessories, there's no limitation to the aftermarket availability of stuff for this, like there is with, say, like the Streamlight ProTac rail-mounted lights, where you're stuck with the Streamlight accessories. Now, I think it is worth mentioning that I did actually pay money for this light, so in case any of you are curious about that, I did pay for this thing, so take that for what it is. But overall, I think that this is a really good light and one that should be in the consideration for those of you looking for a good quality rifle-style weapon-mounted light. Now, I hopefully will in the future, once I get some more experience with this 600DF, do a comparison video between the Streamlight lights, the Arisaka lights, the Surefire lights, and if I can talk my friend into letting me borrow his mod light, maybe doing a comparison between all of those, because I know mod light is kind of the new thing, the new kid on the block that everyone's in love with. I have no direct experience with them though, so if that's something you're interested in, let me know and I can see if I can kind of fast track that. Hopefully I'm going to be doing a lot more nighttime stuff with my firearms, because I'm hopefully going to be becoming a member at a range where I can actually shoot after sundown, unlike here. But all that to come. Again, if that at all sounds intriguing to you, let me know and I can maybe fast track those styles of videos. If you guys have an Arisaka light, definitely let me know what your experience has been and what your thoughts are on the lights themselves. Like I said earlier, I think their light mounts are some of the best ones on the market, and which is why they're on all of my like serious use guns. My SBR has one, my 16-inch BCM has one, this thing has one. I think that they're the best mounts on the market, and it's really cool to see them breaking into covering more of that illumination world by building their own light bodies as well. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and throw those in the comment section down below as well. I'll try to get back to you as quick as I can, no promises. I also want to shout out my patrons for making a video like this one possible. Being able to purchase flashlights or weapon lights, or even find time to come out to the range and use these products is not easy to do without the support of my patrons. Because of that, I post all my content over there early, as well as doing some exclusive content with like behind the scenes stuff, range updates on guns that are in testing, as well as doing like live streams. We have a Discord server. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, or you just want to financially support the channel in these dark days here on YouTube, definitely follow the link in the description below to that. But I think I've been rambling on long enough here, so as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.